My friend Tad Stromer said something that really struck a chord with me. I mean, a lot of things he says strike a chord with me, but this in particular.
I hear that a lot, particularly in this rhetoric about the pendulum, right? Swings one way, just wait. It'll swing back the other way. I think that's complete and total bullshit. I understand sort of the broad sweep of things, that history is about flow and moves, but I think American history is not about flowing and moving. I think that it's about push and pull. People make history, and by standing to the side, they let other people make history.
That whole video, like all of Tad's videos and his perspective and historical expertise, well worth watching. Go watch the whole thing. Tad so succinctly described the reality of American politics and American progress in a way that I have done very clumsily in very wordy videos. He just so perfectly distilled it right there. Too many Americans are passive and are not active participants in their own liberty in the shaping of the future of this country. We have this kind of very comforting false belief that it's just a pendulum that swings back and forth and things are really bad right now, and so they're just going to obligatorily kind of swing back the other way, that it's like an ebb and flow of a tide and we just kind of ride along with it. No, y'all. Tad is so right. It's the push and the pull. And who does the pushing and pulling? It's us, the people. This is why my favorite quote from Timothy Snyder is that we can fight for freedom or we can die in unfreedom. That's really scary when you think about it on the surface. But Snyder talks extensively in his newest book on freedom about how unpredictability is an element of freedom. Free people are unpredictable. And that perfectly folds into my own belief that the future is not yet written and we have a role to play in shaping that future. Tad is correct. We have a responsibility to push America in the right direction. We have a duty and obligation to push this country forward, to make progress as the American people. And if we don't take up that responsibility, if we choose to stand to the side, someone else will push us in a different direction. And I think that's a lot of what's happening now. Without too much scolding, I try and talk about my frustration with the complacency of so many Americans. We don't have compulsory voting in this country, and I know that we have voter suppression. Like, I know a lot of people don't show up to vote because of voter suppression, but we also have an awful lot of complacent people. Voter turnout, especially in off-year elections, is incredibly low. We don't view voting as our civic duty, as a right and something that we must exercise in order to protect it. And it goes so far beyond voting. Our duty to defend democracy, to shape this country, is something that we kind of let slide to the back. I know we're overburdened. I know part of that is that the system is designed to make us exhausted. Those in power want us to be too hungry, too poor, too tired to be able to organize, to defend ourselves, and to be able to shape the future, to be able to make those changes, to advocate for those changes. But Tad goes on to say in his video that America is at her best when we are working together. The people are working together to push for change, to make the future what we dream of, and to not sit idly by or to become complacent and let other people do that driving work. For decades, the alt-right in this country, the Heritage Foundation, conservative America has been patiently chipping away at democracy, laying the foundation for the terrible things they are doing now. They've been patient. They've played the long game. They've been acting and mobilizing and shaping the future for decades. And where have we been? I'm not saying we haven't pushed for progress. I'm not saying we haven't made great strides, but we are watching the conservatives, especially the conservative 6 on the Supreme Court, especially Republicans in Congress, especially the executive branch. We're watching them roll back so much of that progress, pull back so much of that progress, right? As Tad says, it's the push and the pull. It's the push and the pull. They want to drag us backward. MAGA is a reactionary movement. They want to regress this country to a time when we were less free. We had less. We were less prosperous. We struggled more. And as they're trying to pull us backward, we have an obligation to push this whole country forward. Not just to hold the line, not just to hold the line. We deserve so much more than we have had at any point in our lifetimes, right? One of the things that I talked about in a live earlier today, someone asked me, how is it that we help people organize and strategize and plan for a better future? And I said, well, you have to start by believing that we deserve more. You have to start by dreaming of a better future, being able to visualize a better America, a better quality of life for yourself than what this country has told you that you have. We are being told as working class people that we should be content to fight over the scraps. There's this artificial scarcity that's been constructed by the elites while they hoard massive quantities of wealth and say, be happy with a little bit of progress that we give you and then we pull it back. We dangle things like the Affordable Care Act, and then we just kind of like pull those back a few years later. We never give you the universal health care that you want and deserve and we could easily fund in this country. And I know on my YouTube, a lot of my viewers are not from the United States. I have a lot of European and Canadian and Australian viewers. And they are always telling me like, oh, the problem with America is American exceptionalism. Y'all think that you're hot shit and you're better than everybody else. I think that there's something more going on with our government trying to preach American exceptionalism. Yeah, okay, it's about nationalism. It's about this heightened level of patriotism, blah, 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 blah. I also think it is about making Americans feel content with what we have because we are being told we're exceptional. This is the greatest country on earth. We're the wealthiest nation on earth. This is what prosperity looks like. What you're living now is what prosperity looks like. This is exceptional. Don't go look to other countries and what they have because they're less than us. They're inferior to us. I think that is a way of making Americans settle for less, keeping us ignorant of the ways that other countries do things better than we do, where folks have more leisure, more security, they have universal health care, they have pensions, they have vacation days, they have paid maternity and paternity leave, they have governments that are working for the people and not for the super rich. But with the myth of American exceptionalism, we are being pacified and controlled in this country. We are being kept ignorant. We are being convinced to settle for less than what we deserve. We don't know how bad we have it because the government is telling us, the oligarchy is telling us, y'all are living the good life. America is the best place on earth. Everybody wants to be like us. And that's not true. Now, I haven't traveled abroad in a long time. I mean, I've been to Canada a couple times because it's not that far away. But I haven't been to Central America or Europe since my 20s. But I did have the benefit of doing that travel at that time. And I look forward to doing more travel in the future, potentially. It broadens your horizon. It helps you become a more well-rounded person. And it helps really deconstruct that American exceptionalism to go to other places and see how other people live, how other societies function. Folks in Europe have the benefit of just like a little hop and a dash over to another country. America is so huge and so vast. Most Americans don't travel outside the US because there's so much to see and enjoy and such diversity within our own borders, but also because we're really fucking poor and we work long hours and we don't have paid vacation. Most of us don't get any vacation. And so Americans don't actually travel all that much. And I do think that gives a lot of Europeans and a lot of folks in other countries a very skewed perception of who Americans are, because the folks that y'all interact with, those are predominantly very privileged people. One of the reasons I'm pushing both of my daughters to go do study abroad is so that they can get that exposure in college to other cultures and see how other folks live. But getting back to the point at the beginning here, getting back to Tad's brilliant analysis, it's up to us to push us in the right direction. It's up to us to shape the future. And I agree with him. America is at her best when the people are driving what happens, when we are pushing for change, when we are shaping the future. Donald Trump is constantly trying to future fake us. He's constantly trying to tell us that the future is already known, it's already scripted out, and he and Project 2025, they've already written it. We just have to sit here and wait for it to play out, but they've already predetermined it. No. The future is not yet known. The future is not yet shaped. We get to shape that future. We have to have this kind of determination, this kind of stalwart position of like, Donald Trump doesn't get to write my future. Project 2025 and the Christo-fascists don't get to write my future. They don't get to write the future of this country. I have an obligation right now to take up that responsibility and that work to shape America for the better, to shape the future of this country for myself, for my children, for the good of all of us. That is something that is really worthy and necessary work. We are not passively floating along in this democracy. We are not passive recipients of what the government does. We are supposed to be a representative democracy that has a relationship that is reciprocal. We have loaned our power to our elected officials and they are currently abusing that power. So we have an obligation to take it back and to shape this country with our own voice and our own work. Anyway, I'm real fired up and encouraged by Tad's video. He's absolutely right. We have lots of work to do. We get a chance to push now for the America that we need and deserve.